Alex, how's it going?
Good, Jesus. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's be honest with the crowd. This
It
is
is
what
my
you want for your
birthday.
birthday. You want
I'm
to do
getting
another.
older. I don't feel younger. Dustin's still running circles around me.
That's pretty. How old's Dustin? Your son?
So tomorrow he turns 2.
That says a lot about how fast you are. If the little kid that's 2 years old is running circles around you, the energy level, yeah.
Yeah,
But
his
try not
energy
to
levels.
and then they scatter like cockroaches and rats. You know, you turn the lights on, the cockroaches just scatter, but just have three of them. But I'm not saying my kids are cockroaches, but just all right.
Everybody mentions how good Dustin's balance is, and I don't really get it. Why?
Did you play basketball?
I play basketball.
And I think you need some hand-eye coordination.
It's usually the older people. I think they're jealous of his balance.
I am too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
So
just because
thank
I'm a 50-year-old walking like a 4-year-old.
Thanks for joining on this quick break, Alex. So
Yeah.
I want to do something different. I wanted you to join me on this Q&A series,
Mm-hmm.
and mainly because it's right up your alley
Oh,
with
we'll see.
branding and design.
Mm-hmm.
So this question, what are the branding guidelines for a business? And when we do the website design phase
Mm-hmm.
for businesses here in Silicon Valley, when I get to the branding guidelines, sometimes my customers don't know what that is.
Mm.
They're questioning me about it. What is a branding guideline? Do I need it? Because they've been running their business for 5, 7+ years,
Mm-hmm.
and they just make sure the website colors are consistent to the logo colors. So, one,
Mm-hmm.
what are the branding guidelines for a business? And when you answer this question, Alex, pretend I don't know anything about branding guidelines. Educate me. Teach me what a branding guideline is.
Okay. I'll do my best.
Go for
Um,
it.
so, okay, this is something that's really important. I think when people talk about branding, it's what they call your brand and who you are. Just like identifying a person, right? Every person, I'm not saying put labels on them, but what describes you? Sometimes when people look at a business, they don't
Right.
see it that way. So business is just a place to go or an entity, but a branding guideline is a way to get a background or just like what you use in the dating app to find out an idea of who that person is. And that when you get that idea, you can get a picture instead of just a profile picture, right? So things that you put in a branding guideline, right, would be the logo. Okay.
So what you're
Uh,
mentioning is the identity of a person, but we're talking about the identity of a business.
yes, you relate it from that point of view.
Okay.
Because remember, a business is more than just something your service or what you're giving. The reason why branding
Right.
guidelines is really important to have is, like I said, it'll be the logos. It's a whole package, a mission statement, um, what your company is about.
Hmm.
So those are the first three things I look for first before starting anything in design work. Because one, we need before a logo is even a design,
Mm-hmm.
right? The company needs to identify why they're in business. We talked about this, these branding questions that I have
Right.
to let the business owner know they're in business. You'll be surprised. I've worked with some business owners who don't even know why they have their brand, even though they're successful.
Totally. It happens all the time.
Right? As a web developer, you probably see that and go, why are you
All the
using
time.
this?
Yeah.
And then so that what that does is too, that's the reason why I branched out more than just being a designer and working with you as a web consultant. Um, that's why I branched out to branding, because some of these companies don't even know their own company, and mostly when someone that's well
Mm,
established, right, don't even know if they need to rebrand, and they don't even know what branding is because their thinking of their mindset has been, they don't even know their own business currently.
right,
So so the set
right.
of questions that it asks is, one, it's the mission statement, what the business is all about, and another part two is identifying what we talked about in the previous videos is being emotionally aware and identifying, like, being self-aware not just as a person but as your business,
Mm,
why you're in business, why you're doing this, because it'll identify, right, if your thinking has been current, or your thinking is still is out of date and you need to change your demographic. Okay, for a new business, all that stuff is very important. They need to get all that stuff taken care of before going to a designer. This is part of the conflict that graphic designers and visual designers have, because they think, let's just get a design done, but there is no context for the designer to actually build a story off of. It's like making a movie
got you.
without having a script or a story behind it.
Wow, that's stressful. And
Yeah. So
it's
you probably,
lacks
yeah.
quality and consistency too.
Yeah. How does, I don't know, your work as a web developer, you go through those same things, right? I mean, I don't
I
know if you
mean,
do, but
working with the customer if they don't have branding guidelines. And I've seen some that are just basic guidelines. They're also known as style guidelines.
yep.
Um, and I see some pretty in depth where it has to be this specific font on this page. The body images need to be this font. The
Mhm,
colors need to be the hex color, you know, hashtag the numbers has to be
mhm,
this specific. Um, and they want to make sure it's good on all marketing collateral. They
yeah,
want to make sure that it's not just good for the website, but if I'm going to print it on a PDF, how does my logo display on a PDF, right? It goes
mhm,
into crazy details, which is good because if you're a small business owner or a marketing professional that is looking to rebrand the business, you have to really consider all that. And a lot of times you don't you don't consider that's why you need a professional. We deal with that on the website design phase when they don't have a branding guideline. It's figuring out, we're guessing what they want, and they don't even know. Even if we serve it to them on the platter and we're like, hey, I think you should go with this green instead of this dark green. Here's the reasons why. I think you should have more spacing because that's just more the modern look and feel of a
yeah,
design instead of overwhelming the homepage with a lot of text, a lot of copy. And what ends up happening is that well, you're the professional, I'm paying you to do it, right? That doesn't happen a lot. This is very little and rare. But the assumption where a website designer, a website developer, or a website company is in charge of that um, is incorrect. That's
mhm.
more of a graphic designer or visual designer. And I don't know, between the two, are they both the same? To me, they're not. But who should be in charge
Yeah.
of that? To me, I'm thinking it should be the graphic designer.
Yes, the visual designer or graphic designer. So that should be in charge. So that what so that's the reason why I had you answer. You kind of answered my question, that why you need a branding. And another part too is you answered some of the questions. It is a guideline for other companies to know your brand. Because once you have that guideline set, right, it's going to be the fonts, the logo, the color scheme. I even add this, the mission statement of the company. If you even add that, that makes it so much easier for the branding, for the website developer,
Absolutely.
logo designer.
Absolutely.
Yes, because it gives the web developer an opportunity to know what kind to help guide their customer who wants a website, the kind of content they're going to have, what to take out and what to put in. That's
Mhm.
very key. So that's the reason why, like, even in video games, we do the same thing. You cannot create a video game just based off of um, just based off of, oh, I want this action game without having a specific style. And another part too, people go, well, what if Alex, I have no idea what I want. I have no idea
Hmm.
uh, what I can work on. A good designer, what will do with you too as well, they'll set up mood boards. These are boards that are actually showing the kind of styles that you like, even if you don't have a lot of style that's locked down.
Hmm. So it's
So
kind of
for
like a template.
it's not a template. It's like a Pinterest. You've done a research for the web developer. This is the kind of website that I want. This is the kind of
Oh,
look,
it's more like inspiration.
yeah, and inspiration, because that's very key if you're just starting out. So, but the
Yes.
logo design is so the first things I would always suggest to people, right? Just even the current customer you and I are working with, he
Yes.
was asking a question, right? He was going, "Hey, Alex, I want to focus on my logo first," and I said, "Okay, and what's your other priority?" So I came in as a consultant, and then he said, "Oh, I need a website." He said, "Why don't I do logo first and the website?" I said, "What's your time constraint?" Because I need this as soon as possible.
Right.
So I
I
thought of it
remember
as,
that client.
yeah, right?
He had a
Awesome.
deadline to meet.
Yeah. And I think I liked working with him because he was open to letting to being influenced.
Right.
So and then as Sue's calls goes, "Hey, shouldn't he work on the website at the same time?" Yes, they can work on it at the same time, because the web developer would be someone who would be considered the programmer, or someone who's setting up the template for a video game. You make all the programming, you make the templates, right? And what the designer does, I'm working on the logo and making sure he does his brand. He goes, "Let me get the logo first too, Alex." I said, let's do this the right way. Let's get your mission statements taken care of. These are your branding questions. We
Hmm.
got to find out what your company is all about and who your demographic is. That will influence what you're going to design, how your business cards are going to look, and how your font and your pictures are going to look. And then so it was so cool. He had a great time because after doing that branding part, right? Um, he said, "I've never known more about my company until now." I said, "That's the information you're going to give to the web developer and me." And then
Right.
remember, he called me back and goes, "You know what? Alex gave me advice. I should be doing the website at the same time, because once I'm done, the framework will be done and we just put the content in."
Right. And that's what a lot of times you bring up a great point is making sure that the train is still moving. We're not,
Hmm.
we don't slam on the brakes. We're not putting the train at a complete stop. Because if there's a deadline and it has to be ASAP,
Hmm.
then it's best to do it both at the same time to complete the job.
Yes,
Because it takes time
it
for
is.
website design, for website development, even
Mhm.
branding takes time. There's a lot of back and forth with the customer. And the feedback that we get from the customers is so critical to the direction of the company, the messaging, the voice of the company.
Yep. Yeah. So
So basically,
yeah.
to simplify it, branding guidelines, also known as a style guide, is pretty much the standard of your business when it comes to the messaging, the logo, the fonts, you
And
name
even
it.
how the content is put in and what the content is going to be, that's
Mhm.
key. Yeah. Style guide, that's actually exactly what it is. That's
I
a
have
different
another
way.
question for you, Alex. So this
Go
one
for
is,
it.
when should a business consider updating its branding guidelines? So let's throw a scenario just for example purposes. Say there's
Mhm.
been a company that's been in business for 15 years.
Mhm.
They paid a lot of money to do branding at the beginning. And now 10, 15 years down the road, what would be some triggers or what should they be considering? Like, I have to really update my branding now because of X, Y, and Z.
Okay, so let's think of it this way, right? Why would someone change their toilet? Why would someone change their furniture? One, because it's getting old and it's out of date. So in a way, when you, let's say that what you're doing as a business, you're inviting people into your part of you. Your business is like your home, right? And if your business is out of date and the design is um, hasn't been changed for a few years, what ends up happening is people will lose interest. It doesn't have to mean the logo has to completely change. As you can see how the transition, for example, like companies like Pepsi, KFC, Apple. I mean, Apple's first logo was it was like Newton with a tree. It was overly complex.
You got
Now
to
it's
send
just
me that.
an
I've never seen that before.
yeah. So I do research on how these logos change. It's really key to seeing that and finding out the trends. There's certain logos I don't like because it takes away from it. That you'll
Hmm.
know even from corporate. Just because someone, a corporate person or a big company made a logo, that doesn't mean that your logo is just your logo is not going to be just as good because this is your company. So a logo is actually identifying like, okay, how's the front door
Yeah.
or what the people see first identify with? How is that reflecting my current business right now, right? So that's the reason why it's important. Like every few years, I would suggest every 3 to 5 years, you do the branding guideline questions I usually give my customers on your own again because one, it'll help you to reevaluate those customers you had 15, 10 years ago aren't the same. Remember, it's generational. Okay. So they're not my time
Absolutely.
period, right? It's not like a
Yes.
baby boomer, or, people tell me Alex Boomer. I'm like, what? What did you just call me? You just called me a Karen. What's a Karen? I'm like, okay. So you got to understand that like you need to be ahead and keep up with the current generation because you're building a brand not just for that one logo is. I've had people have logos and designs that look the same, but it looks so old. Remember what we talked about. It takes 0.0005 seconds to judge a website. People look at logos and designs the same way. So if it doesn't look up to
Wow.
date or modern,
That's true.
people
That's so true.
off with that.
I was
Uh,
reading an article, I think it was for Instagram,
yeah,
that yes, you can put the keywords and everything, but if they're scrolling through the images,
yeah.
they're scrolling. They're not stopping. They're not clicking as much on the description.
Hmm.
It's just it's just eye catching and just stop. That's cool. And you keep scrolling. It's just like seconds, right? I'm over here snapping my fingers because it's like that fast. Um, but it's true too because I think about for example, Amazon. I do research on a product that I'm going to buy on Amazon. Sometimes I might even go to the website if they have a website, right?
Hmm.
And a lot of consumers, what they do is they do a ton of research before they commit to a purchase or to working with a business, right?
Yep.
And the website is the first or second thing that they go to. They want to see the team. They want to see everything, right? Heck, we were talking about millennials. What
Hmm.
millennials want to see is how modern is your website?
Hmm.
Is it efficient? How modern is your website? Is it efficient? How many clicks do I need to do to get there? Because they want quality too, right?
Hmm.
So, yeah, I like this conversation because the whole branding guidelines is just intertwines with the website, and it matters the quality, the consistency of the quality.
Oh yeah, and I think you brought up another great. That's so true because both tie in together. I think one of the things that a lot of people, I think we talked about it earlier, is that people don't have a digital branding or digital style guide.
Yes, you introduced me to that.
Yeah, so outside of that, not many people nowadays people are using business cards less and less. They're transferring their numbers across to text. Through NFC, so you're getting the information all digitally because people are wanting to what you said. This generation is completely amazing. Their attention span is a lot less because they're taking in so much information. Before it would take such a long time to attain information. You can
Hmm.
sit down and talk. We talked about the technology,
Right.
right? People they want that information in a convenient way. They want all their business cards on the phone and all their contact info. They want so digital another way people don't even realize is like some artists, like for myself, right? I don't have a huge following on Instagram, but it's a good way for my clients to look at what I have if my website's being because my website's being redesigned by you. So this is a great example. Like I have to have, even though my website looked great. This is a great example about branding.
Hmm.
It looked great 5 years ago, right? And I used I totally used a website platform. You can build your own website because I'm a designer and made it look good. At the time, I was so proud of myself. I'm like, yeah, it looks awesome, right? People were complimenting me. And all of a sudden, within 3 years, it was already out of date. And then it's about 5 years or six now that I'm finally having to update it. And, and then because I'm missing a lot of the features that the a lot of the millennials, Generation Z want to see because I work with video games, so they're not seeing a video, a huge banner. Um, it's not interactive in a way where it's user friendly and
Responsive.
very fast.
Hmm.
So those are the things that one thing that's important to have a digital guideline is how are your pictures being displayed. A digital branding guideline will show how your logos, your type, even your photographs on each social media should be displayed.
That's
I,
interesting.
there's a ton of companies that don't do that.
Oh yeah,
And I don't see any videos of people sharing that.
I
We
don't
may be
either.
the first.
You
Yeah.
might
So,
you might be the first one educating me on this.
yeah. So, and mostly from it's good for me to hear from someone who knows the web development a million times more than I do. So I think
I,
that's the one of the things that I think that's the future is having a digital branding guideline. And you know what's amazing too? The next 5 years is going to be a digital branding guideline for augmented reality and VR.
I can see that.
Because I always think 5, 10 years ahead.
AI,
Yeah, so that's the reason why.
totally.
Yeah, so that's the reason why when I told you when I worked, for a big company and they didn't want to listen to me, Disney. So they just I talked to one of the VPs, right? And he said that, I told him, I said, this is where the mobile market's gonna happen. And it's not because I was smart. I just read this and I was like, oh, that makes sense. And you start to see how people work. And that was the time when iPhones were getting more popular. But now
Right.
augmented reality is a huge thing. So who's going to be the one that's going to be able to digital marketing, digital branding guide for augmented reality?
Yeah,
Who's watching the new technology? How
that's
are people
big.
going to? Yeah, how are people? What's the digital guideline for a smartphone? Right,
Wow.
because that's the reason why. What's the digital guideline for a laptop or a tablet? People are using now. They're integrating laptops and tablets all in one device now. It's all coming together.
Hmm.
So it's just some of the stuff that I learned when we were working together,
Yeah,
right?
this is very important because for especially for a small business owner or
Yeah.
someone that does not know marketing as well, they're not tech savvy, or they just don't understand the design process. They just
Mhm.
want it to look like this, get it done, right? But they don't understand how time consuming and everything that needs to go into the consideration of this project. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of questions, right? And it made me really think about this one short story. I'll just say it real quick.
Yeah.
And we can end here because those were the questions that I had around branding guidelines. So thank you for answering those questions.
Sorry to drop my
Um,
iPad pencil and interrupted you.
it's all
I was so rude.
good.
It's my birthday present to you.
Thank you, man. I'm enjoying this right now. So the I had an industry partner she's still in the marketing and advertising industry, and we were part of a business networking group here in
Hmm.
Silicon Valley. And she said, "Hey, since you're a millennial, what what do you look for? Like, what are your acceptance criteria?
That's a
What
good.
would when you go to a website, right?" And she wasn't asking me critique the crap out of this website, but what determines for you to do business with someone and not to? And I'll just focus on one:
Hmm.
user experience.
Oh, that's true.
I
Yeah.
said, but this goes with website design, website development,
Uh huh.
branding.
Right.
This goes all this is all, again, intertwined. And I said, if I go to a homepage, I think about how long did it take me to upload the homepage
Oh, that's true.
on my mobile phone. Boom, it opens up, say 7 seconds, which is ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How dynamic and responsive, how mobile friendly is this design? That's where I
Hmm.
go in my mind. And I go through it. I'm like, whatever, a lot of text, images, a little blurry, not really high quality images.
Hmm.
Now, if I'm having trouble or I see the copyrights,
Yeah.
say 2008, and it's 2020, that's a red flag. If I click on a call to action button and it
Hmm.
doesn't work, or the website speed is slow, you lost me as your customer. I'm out because I'm in go, 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 go mode. So it irritates me and frustrates me when I have to wait for your page to load, but
Hmm.
also if it's a poor user experience, that to me, I judge you automatically. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you have the best service in Silicon Valley. Your poor user experience to me equals poor quality. And I'm not doing business with you. I'm out.
Hmm. Let's
That's
be honest.
literally the way
You see it.
I judge a website. And if I'm going to buy anything, product or service,
Yeah.
I go through that experience. I can start it on Google search. I can start it on Yelp.
Yeah.
But when I get to your website,
Yeah.
that's the whole engine that makes the whole vehicle run. This is your real resume you're putting right now in front of me. So
Yeah.
it's interesting because the branding has to be consistent. I start on Yelp, your logo doesn't look the same as the website. What's going on here? You're confusing the heck out of me. Is this the right company?
That's true. So,
So it made me think of that story, but how crucial it is to make sure your messaging is not just quality, but consistent across every platform
it has to be. That's what a good
and
designer would do.
up to date with the most modern features. It's mobile friendly. I mean, if you don't have a mobile friendly website, gosh, you're hurting on SEO, on ranking. Just that alone. Google
That's
does not
true.
like that. You're not following Google's best practices. So I just want to share that story. Hopefully, it was short.
No, no, no. Actually, it's a good story. Let's just be honest with the audience. You're really talking about my website, and you judged me the first time you opened my. What a jerk!
Your
I'm hurt now.
website was really bad. The artwork was amazing and phenomenal. Guys, you go to conceptartfactory.com and check it out. He has the coming soon page. He has a construction page up right now, but even on his coming soon page, we still have an image slider that shows all his artwork and we blew it up like a fathead. But check it out. It's amazing. Alex does amazing artwork. But yes, you were hurting when you came to us.
So I was like, when's he going to mention that he's actually talking about me? That he has no respect for me right now until I get my website up.
No wonder you're staying quiet.
Yeah, I was just feeling insecure. I was feeling insecure, like I was my first day of middle school, right? So yeah, actually, I'm glad you brought up that point. That is so true because you do judge someone based off their website, right? And
100%.
and dude, and even the reviews, right? It says the stats here says that 73% will judge will before
Hmm.
making purchases. Will actually the number's gone up because this is from a year ago.
Hmm.
It's probably about closer to 75 to close to 80% before making purchases. They'll look at Google reviews and they'll look at the website and they'll go, I don't know if I'm going to go for that. Another thing you brought up too is those little things that are consistent, the little things that my website was lacking outside of all those things that you had mentioned. So if you want to know the truth about how bad my website was, just rewind it the last like 5 minutes and that's exactly what was wrong with my website. That's the reason why I'm buying like, man, dude. But
Too
yeah,
funny that you thought I was talking about you. That was
that's not funny.
hilarious.
That's just because I'm self-consumed, and they can go back to the video of being self-aware as a designer.
I'll add that video to the description for you, Alex.
I know because it's all about me. It's not about the client. I'm just kidding. It's always about the client. It's always about the client because people always ask me, right? I said, "You're a boss. You manage people," and I said, "Look, no matter who you manage, you're always going to be working for that person. And
Mm.
your role as a web designer or a designer, visual designer, video game designer is you need to have the humility to be able to that you want to do the best work possible for someone else to put them in the forefront. Designers who think about their design being the main design are the hardest people to work with. I've had
Yeah,
times like
yeah,
that.
yeah. I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that.
that's the reason why I like working with you because I've seen how you do it with your clients. And
Mhm.
that's the part where I think that's really huge. And all we talked about today was actually it was nothing about us. It was about if you think about what we're talking about, it's about what we're gonna do to help other people's business and tell their story. That's what it is.
It's educating
Yeah.
people that are considering starting a business, are considering, branding guidelines, don't know what the heck branding guidelines are,
Hmm.
or been in business for 10, 15 years, but don't know when to take on the project of updating their branding guidelines. And it's mainly, honestly, I get a lot of these questions um, from leads that don't end up converting over to a customer because they're still hesitant, they're still brainstorming, they're still shopping around. They just don't know where to start, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, this is just all educational stuff, and this is why I appreciate your time, and we're able to talk about real stuff that we encounter every day, every week, every month with leads, prospects, customers. And I think it's very important for people to know, one, how to invest their money, two, when and how.
Hmm.
Because yeah, it's an online resume. Your business is it's the storefront. It's the storefront. People are going to see it, the whole public, the whole world. It's the digital world now, right?
Yeah.
And it matters. It really does matter. I was talking to another industry partner, and she says she transforms her online presence. She does a
Hmm.
website redesign every year just to be relevant with digital marketing.
Yeah, I
And if you
know.
have the money to do that,
Yeah,
do it. You're staying ahead of the competition.
that's true.
If you have the money to do it, do it. If you don't, wait a few years. But you should totally consider that. I have a lot more questions, but for time's sake, we're gonna have to end it. I do want to know though, for our listeners and those that are watching,
Hmm.
is if I want more information about branding guidelines, and I know you offer this service for free. I mean, all your services are free, right? I'm just kidding.
What do you think I am? That's why. That's what everybody
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
says.
Alex Lopez works for free, guys, especially during COVID
Should have seen my
19.
wife's. Oh man, you know, I go. So my wife when they go. So what does your husband do for a living? Oh, he's an artist. I'm just glad I didn't watch the cardiac arrest start. Who wants to marry an artist? I don't even want to marry me.
A starving artist.
Right? So I was like, but she goes, yeah, you're a starving artist. And even my dad was like, Alex, why do you want to be an artist? Be a police officer. You have the same haircut. Whatever, man. Whatever.
People thought I was
And
in
my
the
mom,
military because I got military cuts.
oh, you too. My
Yeah.
mom was like, Alex, you're such a good thrower. And then you heard the story. I went out when I first tried to get a job. I'm like, my mom lied to me. Everyone thinks my portfolio sucks. Nah, it's just moms will never say you're
The
that
truth.
bad. Yeah, mom, you're a liar. Okay, so go ahead. Oh, what was the
Yes.
question?
So my question is, if people want to know more
Yeah,
about branding guidelines,
yeah.
I know you have a free questionnaire, and how can they get in contact with you, Alex, if they want more consultation?
So they can contact me at info@conceptartfactory.com.
Okay.
Yeah, and that would probably be the best way to contact me over email because I'll check those more often. And I usually screen my calls because I just as long as Jesus is on the line, this determines whether I'm going to answer or not. I'm just
Wow.
kidding, dude. Just kidding. But yeah, but I think the reason why, and then usually, I'm only doing this for a brief time because I know a lot of businesses need this help.
Mhm.
We should talk about next too, why it's important to budget your marketing for website development and design because everyone has a marketing budget. We should talk about that in our next conversation because
I like that.
money's a big thing right now. What do you think?
Especially for small businesses, yes. They're bootstrapped,
Yes.
very tight on cash flow. So we can talk about that next. This is good. Honestly, you even educated me a lot on the branding guidelines. So that's good. And I'm hoping all you guys that are listening to this podcast episode that um, it has been great, insightful. You guys learned something. And if you
Yeah.
do have questions, leave a comment below if you're watching this on YouTube, or you can tweet Alex or I. We'll put our information in the description of this podcast episode.
Yeah. He has my stuff and I have his stuff too, his information. So we'll pass it on. And I'll
Awesome.
let everyone know that Jesus is working for free too. We're just kidding, dude. Just kidding, man.
All right,
Don't take that
Alex.
soundbite. All right. Thanks,
Let's,
Jesus, man.
you too, man. Let's get back at it.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, man.
All right. Peace.